The moment I announced my plan to start an online fashion brand, my family erupted in laughter. We were sitting around the dinner table at our weekly Sunday gathering, the crystal chandelier casting shadows over their amused faces. An online clothing store. My sister Victoria dabbed her mouth with a silk napkin, barely containing her smirk. Oh honey, don't you need actual fashion experience for that? I gripped my fork tighter, trying to maintain my composure. I've been studying fashion design for years. Taking online courses doesn't count, Victoria cut in. She gestured to her own outfit, a designer ensemble that probably cost more than my startup budget. This is real fashion, not whatever dropship nonsense you're planning to sell on Instagram. My mother sighed dramatically. Olivia, darling, why can't you do something proper? Your sister runs the most exclusive boutique in the city. Your cousin Sophia is a buyer for Bergdorf's. The Bennett name means something in fashion circles. That was the crux of it, really, the Bennett name. 3 generations of traditional retail success, of brick-and-mortar boutiques catering to the city's elite. And here I was proposing to sell clothes on the internet. The future of fashion is digital, I tried to explain. The younger generation wants the experience. Victoria interrupted again. The personal touch. The champagne while they browse. Not clicking add to cart on some website. My father didn't even look up from his phone. At least she's not asking for startup money, he muttered. Unlike some people's failed boutique ventures, Victoria's face reddened. Her first store had been bankrolled by our parents to the tune of $500,000. The fact that it was now successful had more to do with their connections than her business acumen, but nobody ever mentioned that. Fine, I said quietly, mock all you want. But remember this conversation. I had been preparing for this venture for 2 years, though my family didn't know it. While they thought I was wasting time with online courses, I was actually building something revolutionary. Luna Mode wasn't going to be just another online clothing store. I had a vision, sustainable, size-inclusive luxury fashion that combined high-end design with digital innovation. Every piece would be made to order, eliminating waste and ensuring perfect fits. Our app would use augmented reality to let customers virtually try on clothes, see them from every angle. But more than that, I understood something my family didn't. Exclusivity in the digital age wasn't about price tags or locations. It was about community, about making people feel like they were part of something special. That night, after enduring hours of thinly veiled jabs about my little online project, I sat in my small apartment and launched the website. The design was minimal, elegant. Just 3 pieces to start: a perfectly cut blazer, a versatile dress, and a signature blouse. Each one represented months of development, countless prototypes, and a level of attention to detail that would have impressed even the most demanding luxury customer. The twist? Limited quantities. Each piece would only be available to 100 customers at a time. Returns would be free, but purchases would require joining our Lunar Society, a digital community of fashion enthusiasts who would get early access to new designs and input on future collections. This will never work, Victoria's voice echoed in my head as I hovered over the launch button. No one buys luxury fashion online. I pressed launch. The first sale came 3 minutes later. Then another. And another. By morning, all 300 pieces had sold out. The waiting list for the next batch was already over 1,000 people long. What my family didn't know was that I'd spent the past year building a following on social media, not through typical influencer marketing, but through education, teaching people about sustainable fashion, sharing the design process, creating a movement around conscious luxury. The customers who bought those first pieces weren't just buying clothes. They were buying into a vision. Within a week, the first reviews started coming in. Photos of real people wearing Luna Mode pieces, raving about the fit, the quality, the packaging that made them feel like they were unwrapping a gift rather than opening just another delivery. I've never had a blazer fit like this, one customer wrote. It's like it was made specifically for me. The unboxing experience alone was worth the price, another shared. But the dress? I've worn designer pieces that cost 3 times as much and weren't half as well made. I maintained radio silence with my family even as Luna Mode began attracting attention from fashion blogs and industry insiders. Victoria's boutique customers were starting to ask if she carried the brand, not knowing it was her pathetic little sister's online project. The waiting list grew. 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. We launched new pieces carefully, never more than we could produce with perfect quality. Each drop sold out faster than the last. The Lunar Society grew into a thriving community of fashion enthusiasts who passionately discussed design, sustainability, and the future of luxury. 3 months after launch, Vogue featured Luna Mode in an article about the future of luxury retail. They praised our innovative approach, our commitment to sustainability, and most importantly, our designs. I had the article framed but didn't hang it up. I was waiting for the right moment. That moment came sooner than expected. One Tuesday morning, 6 months after launch, my assistant, yes, I had an assistant now, came into my office looking uncomfortable. "Your sister is here," she said. "She's quite insistent about seeing you." I smiled. "Send her in." Victoria burst into my office like a hurricane in Chanel. "Why didn't you tell me?" she demanded. I leaned back in my chair, taking in her flustered appearance. "Tell you what? That you're behind Luna Mode. Do you know how embarrassing it is? My customers are begging me to stock it, and I have to tell them it's only available online." "Funny," I said calmly. "I thought no one bought luxury fashion online." She collapsed into a chair, her composure cracking. "Half my regular customers are on your waiting list. The other half are threatening to shop elsewhere because I can't get them access. You have to help me." "Help you?" I raised an eyebrow. "Like you helped me at that family dinner." "That was different. I didn't know. None of us knew you were actually building something real." I stood up and walked to my window, looking out at the city where my family's name had once meant everything in fashion. "No, you didn't know, because you didn't bother to look past your own assumptions." Victoria was quiet for a moment. "What do you want?" "Want? To give me access. To let me stock Luna Mode in my boutique. Name your price." I turned back to face her. "It's not about price, Victoria. Luna Mode isn't just clothes. It's a community, a movement, something you and our family never understood." "Then let me understand," she pleaded. "Teach me." I almost laughed at the irony, my fashionable, successful sister begging me to teach her about the future of fashion. But I kept my face neutral as I delivered the final blow. "You want to stock Luna Mode? Fine. Get on the waiting list, like everyone else." "The waiting list?" She looked horrified. "But that's 50,000 people long." 53,000 actually, I corrected her. "As of this morning." Victoria stood up, smoothing her designer dress with trembling hands. "Mother and father will hear about this." "Good," I said, sitting back down at my desk. "Tell them their pathetic little online project now has a higher valuation than all their boutiques combined." She stormed out, leaving behind the scent of expensive perfume and wounded pride. I picked up my phone and opened the Luna Mode app. Another 1,000 people had joined the waiting list while we'd been talking, each one eager to be part of something that was more than just another fashion brand. The revolution wasn't coming. It was already here. Victoria's visit was just the beginning. The next day, my mother called. "Darling," her voice dripped with honey, never a good sign. "Why don't you come over for dinner tonight? We have so much to discuss." I knew exactly what they wanted to discuss. "Sorry, Mom, I have a live stream event with our Lunar Society members. We're previewing the new collection." "A live stream?" She said it like it was a foreign word. "Surely that can be rescheduled. This is family. 30,000 people are waiting to attend this event. So no, it can't be rescheduled." She was quiet for a moment. 30,000? For an online fashion show? "Not just a show, Mom. It's an experience. Our members get to vote on final design elements, pre-order exclusive pieces, interact with our design team." Yes, she cut me off. "But darling, don't you think it's time to consider bringing Luna Mode into the family business properly? Your father and I have been talking." Of course they had. Luna Mode is doing just fine on its own. But think of the possibilities. Your sister's boutique connections, our retail expertise. The same expertise you all use to mock my little online project. I kept my voice calm. "No, thank you." The calls kept coming. Cousins who had laughed at my business plan now wanted exclusive access. Aunts who had dismissed online retail as tacky suddenly had suggestions for collaborations. Even my father, who had barely looked up from his phone during that fateful dinner, was now leaving voicemails about synergizing our business interests. But I had other plans. 1 month after Victoria's visit, we launched the Luna Mode app 2.0. Now customers could create perfect virtual avatars, seeing exactly how each piece would fit their unique body type. Our AI stylist would suggest personalized combinations, while our sustainability tracker showed the exact environmental impact of each purchase. The waiting list hit 100,000. Then came the Luna Mode limited edition, one-of-a-kind pieces designed in collaboration with our community. Each design was voted on by Lunar Society members, with the winning pieces produced in quantities of just 50. The prices were astronomical, but they sold out in minutes. Victoria's boutique customers were jumping ship. Why wait for last season's designer pieces when they could be part of creating next season's trends? My sister's next visit was less demanding, more desperate. "Please," she said, sinking into my office chair. "My sales are down 60%. Everyone wants Luna Mode. I'll do anything." I studied her carefully. The designer outfit was the same, but something was different. The smug superiority was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like respect. "Anything?" I asked. "Yes, whatever you want. A partnership, a licensing deal." "I want you to admit you were wrong," I said quietly, "not just about Luna Mode, but about everything. About online retail, about community-driven fashion, about me." She blinked. "That's it." "No," I smiled. "Then I want you to learn, really learn. About sustainability, about digital innovation, about where fashion is heading. Take the online courses you mocked. Understand why Luna Mode works. And then you'll let me stock the brand. Then we'll talk about making you our first physical retail partner. But on my terms, not yours." The next family dinner was different. I arrived in a Luna Mode original, a sleek, sustainable piece that had a waiting list of its own. The silence as I walked in was deafening. "Is that?" my mother started. "The Shadow Collection piece that sold out in 3 minutes?" "Yes." I sat down, smoothing the perfectly fitted fabric. "We're releasing a new version next month. Only 200 pieces." "I heard the waitlist is already at 30,000, my cousin Sophia said. She wasn't sneering now. "Bergdorf's has been trying to get a meeting with you for months." "I know." I took a sip of water. "We've turned them down. Luna Mode isn't about being in every luxury store. It's about creating something exclusive, sustainable, and community-driven." My father cleared his throat. "About that, I've been looking at your numbers." Of course he had. "What you've built, it's impressive." "Impressive." Victoria jumped in. "It's revolutionary. Do you know their last drop had higher profit margins than my entire summer collection? And their return rate is practically zero because of the virtual fitting technology." Everyone stared at her. This was not the Victoria they knew. "I've been taking those online courses," she explained, almost shyly. "The ones about sustainable fashion and digital retail. Olivia was right. This is the future." My mother looked like she might faint. But what about tradition? The Bennett name in fashion has always meant. The Bennett name can mean something new," I interrupted. "Something better. Victoria understands that now." 6 months later, we opened the first Luna Mode Experience Center in Victoria's former boutique space. Not a traditional store, there was no inventory to browse, no racks to sift through. Instead, visitors could use our advanced AR technology to try on virtual versions of our pieces, participate in design sessions, and join exclusive Lunar Society events. Victoria ran it beautifully, bringing her old world luxury knowledge into our new world vision. She understood now that exclusivity wasn't about keeping people out, it was about making them feel like part of something special. The waiting list, it kept growing. But now it wasn't just for clothes. It was for membership in a community that was reshaping the fashion industry. My family's attitude had shifted completely. My mother bragged about her innovative daughter to her socialite friends. My father studied our business model like it was a fascinating puzzle. Cousins who had once mocked me now asked for internships. But the sweetest moment came during another Sunday dinner. Exactly 1 year after that first fateful announcement, Victoria stood up, tapping her glass for attention. "I need to say something," she began. "A year ago, we all sat here and laughed at Olivia's vision. We were wrong, not just about Luna Mode, but about everything we thought we knew about fashion." She turned to me. "You didn't just build a successful brand. You changed the way people think about luxury, about sustainability, about community. And I'm proud to be your sister." The silence that followed wasn't awkward this time. It was respectful. I stood up too. Luna Mode was never about proving anyone wrong. It was about proving something right, that fashion can be exclusive and inclusive at the same time. That luxury can be sustainable. That community is the ultimate status symbol. Looking around the table, I saw something I'd never seen before in my family's eyes. Understanding. Today, Luna Mode is valued at over $1 billion. Our waiting list is longer than ever, but it's not about the numbers. It's about the community we've built, the industry we've helped transform, and yes, the family we've brought along for the ride. Victoria still runs our Experience Center, which has become a model for our global expansion. She's also one of our most vocal advocates for sustainable fashion. Sometimes when I visit the center, I catch her explaining to customers why digital innovation and community engagement are the future of luxury retail. And at first dress she mocked, it's now in a fashion museum, labeled as the piece that started a revolution. Right next to it is a small plaque that reads, "Sometimes the future of fashion comes from the last place you'd expect, if you're brave enough to look." The Bennett name still means something in fashion circles, but now it means something different, something better. And that's worth more than any waiting list. The thing about dying is that it really shows you who people are. Not who they pretend to be, not who they claim to be, but who they really are deep down. I learned this lesson the hard way at 28, watching my brother Marcus sip champagne in my hospital room while I was hooked up to a dialysis machine. I'm Sophie Watson, and 6 months ago, I was diagnosed with end-stage renal disease. Both my kidneys were failing, and without a transplant, I was looking at a life measured in hours of dialysis and bottles of medication. The doctors tested my entire family for compatibility. Mom wasn't a match. Dad had passed away years ago. But Marcus was perfect. A 98% match, practically identical tissue typing. The doctors called it a gift from genetics. Some gift. "Look soft," Marcus said, lounging in the hospital room's visitor chair like it was a throne. "You have to understand my position. I'm up for partner at the firm. Taking 3 months off for surgery and recovery, it could derail everything I've worked for." I stared at him over the dialysis machine's steady hum. My big brother, the corporate lawyer, the golden child. Growing up, he'd always protected me, stood up for me, been the best big brother a girl could ask for. Or so I'd thought. "It's not just the time off," he continued, swirling his champagne. He brought it to celebrate his new yacht. Because apparently that's what you bring to a dialysis session. Surgery has risks. What if something goes wrong? What if I can't perform at peak level afterward? In my field, even a 1% decrease in performance could cost millions. Mom, who'd been sitting quietly in the corner, spoke up. "Marcus, honey, the doctors said the risks are minimal. The recovery period is well documented. You could work from home after the first month." He waved her off. "Mom, you don't understand the pressure I'm under. The partners are watching my every move." Besides, he gave me what he probably thought was a reassuring smile. "Sophie's young. She can handle dialysis for a few years until they find a donor match." A few years. As if I wasn't already watching my life slip away, 3 hours at a time, strapped to this machine. As if I hadn't already lost my job as a kindergarten teacher because I couldn't stay on my feet all day. As if the medical bills weren't already drowning me. "Actually," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "Dr. Reynolds says I might not have years. The complications are getting worse." Marcus checked his Rolex. "Speaking of complications, I need to run. The yacht dealer is holding that 48-foot azimuth for me, but only until 5. Need to sign the papers." He stood, straightening his custom suit. "Oh, that reminds me. Mom, can we talk about advancing some of my inheritance? The yacht's a bit of a stretch on just my salary and bonus." I watched our mother's face change. Something shifted in her eyes, a hardness I'd never seen before. "Of course, dear," she said, her voice oddly calm. "Why don't you meet me at Mr. Patterson's office tomorrow? Say, 2 p.m. He handles all the family financial matters." "Perfect." Marcus beamed, already typing on his phone. "I'll have my assistant clear my schedule." After he left, taking his champagne aroma with him, Mom sat beside my bed. She took my hand, her fingers trembling slightly. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I didn't raise him to be this way." "It's not your fault," I said, squeezing her hand. "People make their own choices." She nodded, but that strange look was still in her eyes. Yes, they do. And choices have consequences. I should have paid more attention to her tone, should have recognized that my quiet, gentle mother was planning something. But the dialysis was making me drowsy, and I drifted off to sleep before I could ask what she meant. The next day, I had another visitor, Mr. Patterson, Mom's lawyer. He'd handled Dad's estate after the car accident 10 years ago, and he'd been managing the family's legal affairs ever since. I'd always liked him. He had kind eyes behind his wire-rimmed glasses and never talked down to me just because I wasn't in a high-powered profession like Marcus. "How are you feeling, Sophie?" he asked, setting his briefcase on the bedside table. "Like I'm being slowly pickled," I joked weakly. "But the nurses say my numbers are stable, so that's something." He nodded, glancing at his watch. "Your mother asked me to be here at 2:30. She said it was important." Right on cue, Mom walked in. She wasn't alone. Dr. Reynolds, my nephrologist, came with her, along with 2 nurses I didn't recognize. "Good, everyone's here," Mom said, closing the door. "We should wait just a few more minutes. Marcus will be joining us." "Mom?" I was confused. "What's going on?" "We're having a family meeting," she said simply, "about choices and consequences." Before I could ask more questions, Marcus burst in, his face flushed with anger. "Mom, what the hell?" he demanded. I waited at Patterson's office for half an hour. "Language, Marcus," Mom said calmly, "and please have a seat. Mr. Patterson has some documents to share with all of us." I watched in confusion as Mr. Patterson opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. The label caught my eye. Robert Watson, Life Insurance Policy and Medical Trust, 2013. Dad's insurance policy? Why were we looking at that now, 10 years after his death? "Before we begin," Mr. Patterson said, adjusting his glasses, "Mrs. Watson has asked me to play a video recording, one that your father made just before he died, but with specific instructions not to show it unless certain circumstances arose." He set up a laptop on my bedside table, angling the screen so everyone could see. When he pressed play, my heart nearly stopped. There was Dad, looking exactly like he had the day before the accident. He was sitting in his home office, healthy and alive, with no idea he had less than 24 hours to live. "If you're watching this," he began, "then something I feared might happen has come to pass." Part 2. Dad's familiar face filled the screen, and suddenly I was 10 years in the past. Before the accident, before the dialysis, before everything changed. "If you're watching this," he repeated, "then something I feared might happen has come to pass. One of my children needs serious medical help, and the other has refused to provide it." Marcus shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "I know my children," Dad continued, his eyes somehow seeming to look right at us. "I know Marcus's drive for success, his ambition, and I know Sophie's heart, her capacity for caring. I've always worried that someday these different natures might clash in a way that would tear our family apart." He picked up a document from his desk. "That's why I set up this special medical trust, tied to my life insurance policy. The policy itself paid out normally after my death, but this trust has remained dormant, waiting for specific conditions to be met." Mr. Patterson paused the video and pulled out some papers. "The trust your father established was quite innovative," he explained. "He called it a moral contingency clause." "A what?" Marcus demanded, his lawyer instincts clearly triggered. "Perhaps we should let your father explain," Mr. Patterson said, resuming the video. "The trust contains $2 million, Dad continued. "Money I made from my early investments, kept separate from our regular family finances. Under normal circumstances, it would be split equally between my children. However," he leaned forward, his expression growing serious, "if either of my children ever refuses to provide life-saving medical help to the other when they are a viable match, be it bone marrow, kidney, or any other donation, the entire trust automatically transfers to the child in need of medical care." The room went absolutely silent. Even the dialysis machine seemed to hum more quietly. "Marcus," Dad's voice was gentle but firm, "if you're watching this, then you've chosen career advancement over your sister's life. I understand ambition, son. I was a surgeon. I know about demanding careers. But I also know that no promotion, no partnership, no yacht is worth more than family." Marcus's face had gone pale, his champagne confidence evaporating. Sophie, Dad continued, if you're the one in need, know that this isn't just about money. The trust includes provisions for the best medical care available, including private nurses and home care during recovery. You won't have to worry about medical bills or lost wages. Tears rolled down my cheeks as Dad's image smiled sadly. I'm sorry I'm not there to help you through this, but maybe in this small way, I can still protect both my children, one from suffering and one from living with the consequences of a terrible choice. The video ended, leaving us in stunned silence. Marcus was the first to speak. This can't be legal. I'll contest it. You can try, Mr. Patterson said mildly, but your father was very thorough. The trust has already been validated by 3 separate courts in similar cases, and contesting it would only generate publicity I doubt your law firm would appreciate. Mom, Marcus turned desperately, you can't let this happen. My yak deposit is nothing compared to your sister's life. Mom cut in, her voice sharp. I've watched you transform from a loving brother into someone I barely recognize. The designer suits, the status symbols, the constant pursuit of more. Where does it end, Marcus? I've worked hard for everything I have. No, Mom's voice cracked with emotion. You've worked hard for everything you want. There's a difference. Dr. Reynolds cleared his throat. Perhaps this is a good time to review the living donor process again. The recovery timeline, the support systems available. Marcus wasn't listening. He was frantically typing on his phone, probably calculating numbers, trying to find a way out. Finally, he looked up, his face a mask of cold fury. Fine, take the money. I don't need it anyway. I'm making partner next month. Mom stood up slowly. Actually, you're not. Everyone turned to stare at her. What do you mean? Marcus asked, his voice suddenly uncertain. I had lunch last week with Margaret Chen. You remember her, senior partner, sits on the promotion committee? We serve on the hospital board together. Mom's voice was calm, almost conversational. I told her about Sophie's condition, about you being a match. She was very interested. Marcus's face went from pale to ashen. You didn't. Law firms care about their image, Marcus. A partner who refuses to donate a kidney to save his dying sister. Not quite the public image they're going for. Mom smoothed her skirt. Margaret assured me they'll let you down gently. Cite changing market conditions, reorganization of departments. You'll get an excellent reference for your next position. I watched my brother crumble, his carefully constructed world falling apart. In that moment, he looked less like the polished corporate lawyer and more like the boy who used to build blanket forts with me during thunderstorms. I could still donate, he said quietly. Would that change anything? Dr. Reynolds stepped forward. Medically, yes. Sophie's condition is deteriorating. A living donor transplant soon would significantly improve her prognosis. But it wouldn't be from love, I said, speaking for the first time since the video started. It would be to save your career, your reputation. Just another transaction. Marcus flinched as if I'd slapped him. Mr. Patterson cleared his throat. The trust goes into effect immediately. Sophie, we'll need to go over some paperwork once you're feeling stronger. The funds will cover all medical expenses, lost wages, and provide for your long-term care. What about me? Marcus asked, sounding very young suddenly. What am I supposed to do? Mom's face softened slightly. That depends on you, doesn't it? Your father's video wasn't just about money. It was about choices, about the people we become when faced with difficult decisions. The next few weeks were a blur of medical consultations and paperwork. The trust covered everything, not just the basics, but also experimental treatments, alternative therapies, even a private nurse to help me at home. I didn't have to worry about rent or bills or losing my apartment. Marcus disappeared for a while. Mom said he'd taken a leave of absence, checked into some wellness retreat in Arizona. The partnership offer was quietly withdrawn, just as she predicted. Then, one morning, 3 weeks into my new treatment plan, he showed up at my apartment. He looked different, thinner, less polished, wearing jeans instead of his usual suit. I've been doing a lot of thinking, he said, standing awkwardly in my living room. About who I've become, about what really matters. I waited, not making it easier for him. I'd like to be tested again, he said finally, for the kidney donation. Not for my career or the money, but because you're my sister. Because I remember the boy who would have done anything to protect his little sister, and I'd like to try to be him again. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. Trust, once broken, doesn't heal as easily as bodies. But it was a start. The transplant surgery happened 2 months later. As they wheeled us into adjacent operating rooms, Marcus reached over and squeezed my hand, just like he used to do before my kindergarten recitals when I was nervous. During our recovery, we talked more than we had in years. About Dad, about growing up, about the people we'd become. Marcus sold the yacht deposit to cover his medical leave. He found a new job at a smaller firm, doing more pro bono work. Less prestigious, but somehow he seemed happier. Dad's video stayed with me, not just the words but the love behind them. He'd seen this possibility years ago, seen how life could test us, how money and ambition could twist even the strongest family bonds. And he found a way to help us even after he was gone. Last week, I went back to teaching. My kindergartners threw a welcome back Miss Sophie party, complete with crayon drawings of kidneys, mostly purple, some with smiley faces. Marcus came by with cupcakes, sitting cross-legged on the tiny chairs, letting the kids ask questions about his special bandage from the surgery. Later, watching him help clean up frosting smears, I thought about choices and consequences, about the different ways we show love. Maybe Dad's real gift wasn't the trust fund or the medical care. Maybe it was this second chance, for Marcus to remember who he was, for me to learn to forgive, for our family to heal in more ways than one. Yesterday, Marcus asked if I wanted to go look at boats with him. Nothing fancy, just a small sailboat for weekend trips. Life's too short to wait for someday, he said. And I'd rather share adventures with my sister than impress strangers at the yacht club. I smiled and agreed, remembering Dad's words about protecting both his children, one from suffering and one from the person he was becoming. Sometimes the biggest gift we can give someone is the chance to be better than their worst choices. The dialysis machine is gone now, replaced by a healthy kidney and a stronger relationship with my brother. On my bedside table, I keep a framed photo of Dad, taken in his office the day he made that video. He's smiling like he knows something we don't. Which, it turns out, he did. Next to it sits a new photo, Marcus and me on my first day back at school, both looking a little tired but genuinely happy. Different than we were before, but maybe better. After all, that's what family is supposed to be about. Not just sharing DNA, but sharing life, with all its complications and second chances. Dad understood that, and now finally so do we.